Can you name 5 things you learned from your mother or father? Here are 5 I learned from my mother. Brushing your teeth is a sacred duty. If you don't like what's being served for dinner, there are 10 restaurants up the road. It's a man's world. Ironing is unnecessary since the invention of perma-press fabric. Nothing is more important in your life than your faith. I am sure you could quickly come up with your own list. Our families begin forming us from the moment we are conceived. While I may have since learned an iron is still necessary, every time I grab a toothbrush, I hear my mother's voice. Family is the first community in which we are gathered, formed, and from which we are taught to act in the world. Since God's grace is the center out of which these things happen, we believe the family is created by God to be our first experience of church, the domestic church. The very nature of a family is spiritual. Unfortunately, it does not appear that we are born with that conscious understanding. We seem to walk around with identity amnesia, and so it becomes a large part of the work of catechetical ministers to wake people up. One of the most profound and beautiful reflections on the purpose of the family is found in the writing of Saint Pope John Paul II. He wrote this: "The family has the mission to guard, reveal, and communicate love." Now there's a quote that should be hanging in every Catholic home. We reveal love. Whose love do we reveal? Not our own, since St. John, the author of the Gospel, tells us that God is love. It is God's love that we reveal to one another. We communicate love. Through words and actions, our families help us to know first that we are lovable, and second, that we have the capacity to love. Or as 7-year-old Danny put it, when someone loves you, they say your name different. You just know your name is safe in their mouth. No theologian could say it better. We communicate love just by speaking a name. Being present to one another is the greatest expression of love and is also the most fundamental way we guard love. It is in our families that we are most vulnerable to one another. We risk showing ourselves, but we do so with the unspoken promise that what we offer will be received and held in love. In this way, the family most reflects God's love for us. We learn to trust that even though we are broken, imperfect people, we are loved just as we are. This, says John Paul II, is a living reflection of and a real sharing in God's love for humanity. Where else but in our family are we healed when the world harms us? Where else are we comforted when the world bullies us? Or where else do we go when we are confused and worn down? Finally, the family is the place that teaches us that while our family relationships are a priority, we must put God first in our lives. We are prepared to be disciples in service of God's kingdom, using our gifts to spread the good news of God's love and mercy through his Son, Jesus Christ. Our parishes must support family life, but part of that support needs to come in the form of a challenge. Do we challenge our families to live more intentionally and more consciously their sacred identity? Do we provide them with the resources they need to affirm, support, and evangelize them. Pope Francis said this: "How precious is the family as the privileged place for transmitting the faith." We know that families are irreplaceable as teachers of the faith. So commit yourself to shake your families awake and help them to know what my mother taught me. Your faith must always come first. The World Meeting of Families has turned a spotlight on the role of families. It has created a space to discuss family life itself, as well as family life in our parishes and our society. This conversation is not news to the catechetical community and has been in process at our Sunday Visitor for a long time. Family life is at the heart of our catechetical resources. Beside the countless parent resources like Catholic Parent Know-How and Takeout, the parent resources which accompany our basal and sacramental programs do not treat parents as substitute classroom catechists. They are written to access the core of daily family life, the sacred place where faith must be spoken, lived, and prayed. We coach the parents as we affirm, support, equip, and evangelize them to be conscious and intentional about our Catholic faith. In doing so, parents will create homes where intentional disciples are formed.